The ones who came after that were puppet kings, and they were very evil. And this is where we ended last week, so now we're at the Battle Karkimish in 605 BC. So that's where we're at. 605 BC, once again, Nebuchadnezzar wipes out the rest of the Assyrians, and then also he beats the Egyptian at the Battle of Hamath at the same time. Okay, now 601 we have another battle between Babylon and the Egyptian. Heavy losses on both sides. Heavy losses. And this is one of the reasons why Jehoiakim, who was put on the throne by Pharaoh Necho, Jehoiakim, he aligns with the Egyptians because it looks like the Babylonians was losing. This didn't work out for Jehoiakim. Nebuchadnezzar comes down there and he replaces Jehoiakim with his son Jehoiachin in 597. 605, 606, when Nebuchadnezzar came, was the first deportation. Here's the second deportation. Zedekiah is put on the throne. Zedekiah, he rules from 597 to 586. In the 9th year of his rule, he rebels against Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar comes up to him, and the city of Jerusalem falls. It's during this battle that Zedekiah tries to run away. He tries to run away. He is captured by the armies of Nebuchadnezzar. He sees his sons killed, and then his eyes are put out. This is in 2 Kings chapter 25, 6, and 7. His eyes are put out. He's taken into captivity. He never sees the land, which is a fulfillment of the prophecy of Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 12. And there's where we are right there. Quick history overview. As you can see, there's a lot of history there that will help us understand the Bible if we only just take the time, and maybe one day we'll do that. It would have to probably be what we call a Wednesday night class, because there's not a whole lot of biblical teaching in there. It's just biblical history. So we'll see. 3 deportations, 605, 605, 606, 606, 605, 597, and 606, 605. This is when Daniel and his friends, the seed royal, are taken into captivity. 597 is the time when Ezekiel is taken into captivity. And then 586 is when the rest of them were taken into captivity, and the city was completely razed to the ground. The temple is destroyed, and the city itself is turned down. So there's a little bit of history. Now, during their time of captivity, we want to look at that very quickly. During the 7 years of captivity, which was from 605, 606 to 536, 70 years. Jehoiachin is released from prison, 2 Kings 25, verses 27 through 30. He lived his life out in Babylonian captivity, but he lived his life out free. Also in their captivity, the 7 years, the Jews lived normal lives. They were never enslaved. They were never persecuted. They were allowed to build houses. They were allowed to marry. They were allowed to have gardens. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 5 and 6. They were allowed to assemble. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 1 and following. And some of them rose to preeminence, much like we will see in the book of Daniel. So they just lived normal lives, but they were not in their homeland. There were times of discouragement. Read Psalm 137. They were told to sing, but they will say, how can I sing Jehovah's song in a land that is not Jehovah's? I paraphrase that. And then some of the Jews were bitter against God or towards God. Some were indifferent, and some had lost their faith. And we see that in Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 2, 25, and Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 31. Also in the 70 years of captivity, Ezekiel and Daniel are the primary sources of this time. This is what we rely on as we look at the captivity period. Also, tribal identity and genealogies were preserved, and we get that from Ezra chapter 2, verses 59 through 62. So in other words, they kept up with who they were, their genealogy. And then we see many of Jews never forgot their homeland. They never forgot their homeland, and they were ready to return.